What is going on, everyone? We are back with another story. This one is the Thieves of the Suns. Hope everyone's had a great weekend. Anyways, let's get into it.
Reloading.
Prologue. The Thief of Suns. In the desert kingdom of Marrakesh, light was not a gift from the heavens, but a prize stolen long ago. The kings of old, fearing darkness and death, captured fragments of dawn itself and bound them in cages of crystal. Thus the city burned bright, while the sands beyond lay dead and cold. The people lived by the radiance of their prisoned suns. They drank water pulled from dry stone, forged steel in midnight furnaces, and walked unafraid beneath skies that should have been black. They called it blessing. They called it mercy. Few dared call it theft. But light remembers. The suns whispered within their cages. They murmured through dreams and shadows, seeking ears that would listen, hands bold enough to break their chains. Some heard them and went mad. Some prayed and were consumed. And some thieves, liars, the desperate, listened. So it is told of Jalen, the thief who dared what none had dared before. He gathered a crew of rogues and exiles, each touched by a promise only they could hear. Forgiveness, freedom, dominion, truth. With their blades and lies and half-trusts, they climbed the high crystal tower on the night of the Festival of Dawns, when the priest sang loudest and the cages shone brightest. What he stole that night was not gold, nor crown, nor kingdom. What he stole was fire. Some say he shattered the cage and set the sun free, and the world has burned in secret ever since. Some say he bound the sun inside himself, becoming light made flesh. Some say he betrayed even his own crew and left the suns to whisper still. None agree on the ending. All agree on the name. Jalen, the Thief of Suns. Chapter 1. The Whisper in the Dark. The desert night was never truly dark in Marrakesh. A dozen suns burned in their towers, their cage light spilling across the sandstone streets and silvering the dunes beyond the city walls. Shadows were sharp and thin, as though afraid to linger too long. Jalen moved through them anyway. He was a shadow practicing shadows, though he carried no dagger and wore no mask. The only thing that marked him as a thief was the way he carried silence. Like a coin he meant to spend carefully. His hand brushed the alley wall as he walked, fingers trailing across cool stone until he reached the shrine. It was an old place, forgotten by all but dust and beggars. The priests of the high tower did not come here anymore. They feared what lingered beneath the broken dome. Jalen slipped inside, boots crunching against sand that had blown through the cracks. The whisper was waiting. You came. The voice was not sound. It burned behind his eyes, a glow that made his skull feel hollow. His blood quickened. He had heard it since he was a boy. Soft at first, no more than a dream. But now, as the Festival of Dawns drew near, it was insistent. Hungry. I'm here, Jalen said aloud, though the words echoed only in the dust. You promised me truth. Truth, the whisper agreed, its tone both kind and cruel. The kings stole us. They bound us in cages of glass. We were the first light, and we burned to be free. You will break the bars. You will be remembered. Jalen's throat was dry, though the air around him was cool. And what if I fail? The silence stretched. Then, the world will remember the attempt. Even a thief may write a dawn. He closed his eyes and saw it. The high crystal tower, its mirrored walls gleaming with caged brilliance. The priest bowed before a sun that had never bowed to anyone. He saw the locks, the wards, the guards. He saw himself climbing, breaking, taking, and he saw others. A woman with tools finer than any blade, turning a lock of glass until it sang open. A man with desert scars, leading them through dunes that swallowed whole armies. A shadow where a woman should stand, her own darkness alive and restless. The whisper curled around him like fire around kindling, Gather them. Trust them if you can. But remember, only you can bear the light. Jalen opened his eyes. The shrine was dark once more. Only the caged suns lit the desert beyond the dome, and their glow looked less like mercy than prison bars. He turned away and walked into the night, silence clinking at his side like a coin already spent. The heist of the suns had begun.
Not bad, not bad.
Chapter 2. The Market of Shadows. By day, Arrakkesh was a city of blinding glass and echoing prayer, but by night its heart belonged to the market. Beneath the glow of the caged suns, merchants set out wares too costly or too dangerous for daylight. Perfume brewed from desert blossoms, silk dyed with crushed beetles, steel tempered in secret. Even the guards came here, though they pretended not to see the stalls where poisons glistened like honey, or where fortune sellers carved omens into bone. Jalen moved through the crowd with his hood drawn low, eyes taking in more than he touched. His purse was thin, but that hardly mattered. Tonight he wasn't here to spend. He was here to listen. The whisper still lingered behind his eyes, a warmth that would not fade. It pressed him toward certain stalls, certain faces, though it never spoke plainly. The suns never did. They gave fragments, promises, riddles. It was for him to make sense of them. At a jeweler's tent, he studied the display of crystal keys, trinkets for nobles, worthless as locks, but useful for teaching a hand how glass might yield. His fingers itched. He remembered the whisper, one who opens doors no blade may touch. He would need her. At the spice seller's booth, he watched a scarred man haggle with the patience of stone. His words few but sharp as flint. He carried himself like one who had walked farther than most dared. Jalen recalled another fragment, a guide through sand, whose eyes are maps. And in the corner of the square, where lanterns flickered and shadows pooled unnaturally deep, Jalen felt the hairs on his neck rise. A woman sat there, though her outline wavered, as if the night itself clung to her shoulders. A shadow that remembers its own name. The whisper had said. He did not approach them. Not yet. To gather a crew was more dangerous than the heist itself. Rogues trusted coin, not causes, and betrayal was as common as sand. He would need to know what each wanted, and what each feared, before he spoke the truth of the tower. Instead, he circled back to the shrine, where silence was safe from the market's noise. He spread a scrap of parchment on the floor and drew the tower from memory. Its mirrored walls, the priest guards in their glass masks, the turning of locks timed with prayer. His lines were quick, restless, more dream than map. When he finished, the parchment showed little more than a spire of fire. He set down the charcoal, leaned back, and let the whisper fill the hollow places in his mind. You see them, you know their shapes. Bring them together, thief. And when the night comes, break the dawn. Jalen folded the parchment, tucked it into his vest, and rose. Tomorrow he would begin.
Enemy UAV overhead. Thanks for the work.
Well, that's chapter 1 and 2, along with the prologue. Let me know what you guys think.
Gas is closing in. Get to the new safe zone. Soldier incoming.
That's 5 kills. Switching mags.